Okay folks, this is Dragon. Bit of a walk down to this creek here. I didn't bring the vehicle right down. Now this creek, in Australia, water's a big problem in most parts of Australia, and water means life. It can also cause you a lot of problems if it's not sterilised or made into drinkable water. Now believe it or not, this creek here is actually running off to my right around that area there. There's a little bit of a trickle. This is a pool of water here. I don't know if you can hear the water running in the background. Anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of debris in the creek, in the water, the creek water. To my left, this creek is actually spring fed. During the drought, it dried up. A little bit unusual, but it was one of those things we tend to have quite often here in Australia. And when natural springs start to dry up, you know it's a bad one. This water here looks quite clear. A lot of debris in it. A bit of marine life in it. And I'll just show you, I put a yabby pot in here a few days ago just to see if there was any in the creek. Unfortunately there weren't, but there are these tadpoles. Okay, not good bush tucker. The reason why that is, tadpoles are some species of amphibians like toads and frogs are poisonous. Can't eat them. Particularly here where we are, up and down the pretty well most eastern part of Australia, maybe in northern Victoria, we've got what they call a cane toad, another introduced pest to control another pest. Yep, that's logical. But this went berserk throughout the country. Queensland, Northern Territory, Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales. I've even heard reports of them down along the northern parts of Victoria. Very adaptable to the environment, and they love areas like this rainforest. They originally came from South America. This is their favourite breeding habitat. Here's the thing about cane toads, or indeed any poisonous frog or toad, particularly the cane toad here in Australia, is that the eggs and the tadpoles are also poisonous. It's to stop predators from eating them. So something to keep in mind, folks. Not everything you find in these creeks is edible. This water here, if I need to drink it, I would filter it, purify it. The reason why is if you have a look up on the banks, even in the water, a lot of rotting debris. A lot of bacteria in the water from this stuff as it rots. Further up the creek there could be a dead animal in the creek or on the bank of the creek, you wouldn't know. But eventually it all runs off into this creek. So you've got a huge bacteria problem, parasite problem probably, not to mention throwing a couple of viruses or two. We're also on farmland. This guy runs cattle. This area has a lot of history. People have been here since, well, like probably the late 1800s. So who knows what sort of chemicals they were using for their livestock. They're still using today, but eventually it all runs off into these creeks. Some of it is accumulative, some of it is toxic, although the marine life looks pretty healthy here. But long-term use of it can have bad effects with human beings. Also, I've noted that a lot of the houses around here, going back over 60 or 70 years ago, even longer, used a lot of lead on their roof, capping and that sort of thing. So eventually that all leaches off into the soil and finishes up in creeks like this. So that's why I said on I think it was one other post, I can't remember. Even in the bush, find an isolated stream like this, you don't know where upstream it started, what's beside it, as far as human activity goes, but also nature itself, what she's throwing in the stream. Human activity, yeah, there's a lot of farms around here. They got septic tanks. Some have got pit loos. We had floods through here. All this creek was flooded earlier this year. Runoff from farmland, houses, and so on. So all that finishes up in the creek. So I'd hate to see what the E. coli count to be in this. There's something to keep in mind, folks. Water might look clean, but I wouldn't like to drink this raw out of the creek. I filter it, sterilise it, use by whatever means you feel you need to. Chemically or the good old-fashioned way, boil it for 10 minutes. But, there it is, folks. The old story I was told when I was a kid was that running water in the bush is safe to drink. Nope. Just have a look at this. Creek is running. This is just a water hole in it. So something to keep in the back of your mind, folks.